Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
It's almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the Horror-thon. And remember the big giveaway at 9. Don't miss it. And don't forget to wear your masks. The clock is ticking. It's almost time.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Too Much CGI. My name is Bill. Here as always with my friend Scott. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey man, happy anniversary, you old bastard.
Listen, if you're binging our show, I know some people will do that. They'll listen to episode after episode after episode because we're so addictive. If you're coming off the tail of the last episode and you're excited for our anniversary party because Scott said, oh, it's going to be a doozy.
Yeah.
Welcome to the doozy.
Yes, indeed. I was kind of saying that tongue in cheek. I don't really do a lot for anniversaries. Ask my wife. But yeah, I just think, 1 year, that's a pretty long time. Who thought we'd be doing this for a year? Who can believe it's even been a year already?
That's the craziest thing about it. Doesn't feel like a year. When you said it, I was like, really?
Yeah.
There's no way. We just started last week.
Yeah. We published episode 1 on October 23rd, 2022. So yesterday was our 1 year anniversary of publishing. Now, we were talking about this show for probably a month prior. I think we even probably recorded an episode that we never actually even aired. But as far as the public knows, yesterday was our 1 year anniversary.
I just edited the episode on Sunday, and I was like, oh, no. He said we have a celebration show. We got to put something together.
Yeah, you texted me. You were like, hey, I know you told people we're doing an anniversary show. I was like, yeah, and I have no idea for an episode, so this is going to be fun.
Well, then I started to think about all the important things that we've brought up in the last year. I was like, we can celebrate that, right? We've talked about Nuki.
Yeah.
We've helped our audience find the beauty of Nuki and the Dance of Tranquility.
Yes.
If you don't know what we're talking about, you're going to have to dig back in. Just don't go back to pilot. Don't go back that far. Nobody needs to go back to our first shows. We were a little rough around the edges.
Don't judge us by the early days, huh?
Right. We taught you about Wang Wang.
Wang Wang.
Mm-hmm. We taught you about the piss puck.
The piss puck. We also probably introduced a lot of people to Rat Finka Boo Boo.
Yeah, Rat Finka Boo Boo. We're starting to get to that point where we have all these inside jokes that we throw to each other. And we go, I don't know how many people are going to get that reference. Well, if you're a steady listener, maybe you will.
Yeah, I mean, being a show that's heavily influenced by 80s pop culture, thinking of a 1 year anniversary, the first episode that came to my mind was Clip Show. That's what everybody did back in the 80s was the old Clip Show, where they just take Frankenstein's monster parts of old episodes together and ta-da, brand new content.
So much has changed. We learned so much. And it's all about learning and sharing what we learn with you.
Where else are we going to learn a biography of Weird Al Yankovic or Howard Stern? Who can forget the times of being stumped by lyrics of songs, or where did this line of dialogue come from this movie, or what character said this, or even more recently, the past 5 episodes of Halloween horrors or horror show creatures, or, it's been a long time, man. We talked about a lot of things over the year.
We've talked about amusement parks. We've talked about fantasy movies. We've talked about the worst movies by the best directors. We've talked about daytime TV. Jerry Springer, when he died, we talked about that.
We talked about Bruce Springsteen sucking.
Very controversial.
We told you who died. We told you who's still alive after we thought that they were dead, but then found an article telling us we were wrong.
Yeah, we fill your head with a lot of information. Sketchy information. But you get all this for free.
And we're always back the next week, telling you how much we fucked up. And hey, remember that thing we told you about? Yeah, it wasn't even right. But we own it.
We totally own it. Like how in the last episode, when I said Dick Buttkiss, but it came out wrong, I said Dick Pudkiss, and we were laughing about it, but the wrong word actually got into the edit because you heard me say, hey, Dick Pudkiss died.
Yeah, I thought you wanted me to keep that one.
No, that was a flub.
Oh, I thought that was...
But I'll own it.
I thought you were just making fun of an already funny name.
No, I remember screwing it up and saying Pudkiss and going, God, man, I'm an idiot. Pudkiss. And then all of a sudden I hear it in the final. I'm like, oh.
You said it twice. I was like, oh man, he's really trying to drive this joke home. So I figured better put it in the final.
See, this has been such an adventure.
I didn't even know how to edit when this year started.
I didn't even know how to talk. But it's been fun. I mean, we talked about this show just being almost exactly what it's become.
Well, we've had special guests. We've had Will on from 1980s Now. We've had Brother Dan on. So I guess we've had some special guests and some not so special guests.
Michelle, Dan, Steve, they're all wondering, who's he talking about? Which one? Which one of us is not so special?
You're all special. We had a sponsor.
Good.
We haven't talked about him in the past 2 months, but we had a sponsor.
You can still go to liquidiv.com and put in the keyword too much CGI. You'll get 10% off your purchase.
No, 20% off your purchase.
See, it's been so long since we did the commercial. But as far as I know,
still active.
Liquid IV is still a company.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, just want to remind you, if you want to get more from the show, you can go to toomuchcgi.com. That's where you can get in touch with us as well. You can get all of our different content there. You can get all of our different shows, is really what I mean by content. We have some cool stuff coming up. Scott, t-shirts, swag, stuff like that. It's in the works.
Beautiful.
So that'll eventually be on the website. But if you also want to hang out with us on the socials, we're on X, just one X, not three. That's Pornhub. We're on X and we're on Facebook. But if you want to chat with us and you want to send us some things and say, hey, man, talk about this, I'd love to hear you guys. I'd love to hear Scott's take on ABC. Come tell us. And Scott will tell you everything he knows about ABC.
I certainly will. You know what? I want to take a stand right now. Let's not call it X. You've been calling it Twitter all this time. I say we take a Twitter stand. Let's call it Twitter.
Just refuse to accept that it's had a name change?
I refuse to accept X. It's the dumbest thing.
Yeah. It's like George Costanza quitting and then not leaving or being fired. What was that? Yeah, he quits and then comes back the next day.
You thought I was serious about that?
You thought we really changed our name? You thought we really believed you changed your name, Twitter? And everywhere you go and you read a story like this was posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. Like, how long is that going to
Exactly.
Yeah, how long is that going to go on for?
Exactly.
I don't even know how they're making money. Hey, you want to hear a crazy story?
I'm always down for that.
Totally just changing the subject. I'm looking at the agenda here. I see what the fuck of the week. So, classic story that I just found out about. I've heard about it, but I just found out the details. Did you know there was almost a collaboration between Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit and Eddie Van Halen?
Wait, just Eddie, like not the whole band Van Halen.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So is this the 90s or 2000s? It's that era where like Van Halen wasn't doing much at all.
Yeah.
And I think Limp Bizkit was kind of over their hill. You know, they just got done being a big band.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm a big Eddie Van Halen fan. You know that. Eddie's got a lot of problems. Eddie had some mental health issues. I'm sure of it from some of the books that I've read, but he's never come out and said, I have this. But there's episodes where you can see him on YouTube and you're like, who is this guy? This is an asshole. And then you see another guy and you're like, this is the sweetest guy I've ever seen. So there's really two Eddie Van Halens. But the darker Eddie Van Halen, who badmouths his bandmates, like that one you don't always see very often. So this is a story that, as I understand it, happened during one of his dark spells. All right. So somebody reaches out to Eddie and says, hey, you ought to jam with Fred Durst. Why not? Sounds crazy. Let's see what comes of it. So Eddie Van Halen takes all his gear over in LA or Beverly Hills, wherever Fred Durst is living, and he drives all his stuff up and they set up and they jam. And Eddie Van Halen's like, man, these guys are idiots. Like, they can't get their stuff together. He made some comment. I can't remember the comment. He's like, I'm the king and they're the paupers or whatever. Like, it's like he knew that it was not a good situation. So he left and he just didn't bring his gear. So he's like, you know what? I got to go back and get my gear anyway. So he's calling Fred. And Fred's not answering. Fred's probably like, that was the weirdest fucking guy I've ever met in my life. And we couldn't take him seriously. So we, fucked off the whole thing and he got pissed off and left and I still have his gear and he's calling me. That's hysterical. That's probably what's going on at Fred Durst's house, right?
Wow.
You know he's totally trolling this old coot Eddie Van Halen, right? But wait, Eddie's not done. So Eddie evidently bought some sort of artillery vehicle, some kind of military vehicle that wasn't even legal to own, let alone drive. It had some kind of gun in the back, like a big
What?
fucking gun. Yes. Some people in this article that I read called it a tank.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
So he has this vehicle and he drives it through Los Angeles and he drives it up Beverly Hills and he parks it on Fred Durst's lawn and he comes walking out of this tank and they say he's got no shirt on. He's got his hair up in a samurai bun and he's wearing boots that are taped together and a rope for a belt. And he walks up and he starts pounding on the door. He starts pounding on the door and Fred opens the door. And Eddie Van Halen takes a gun, puts it to Fred's head, says, "Give me back my fucking gear."
Holy shit.
So Fred says, "Guys," and he calls one of his employees over. He says, "You heard the man? Load up his gear into the tank." They load up the gear. Eddie goes home. End of story.
Wow. He's lucky. I mean, Eddie's lucky. It sounds like they're both kind of lucky that one didn't fucking snap, and the other one's lucky they didn't call the cops.
I know. I mean, that's only the kind of stuff rock stars get away with.
Yeah.
Incredible. Could you imagine a guy just driving a tank, no shirt? You're like, it's Eddie fucking Van Halen.
Also, how are the cops not involved while he's driving across town to Fred's house?
Yeah, I don't know. This is just one of them stories that you gotta wonder, is it true?
Yeah, there's almost too much.
Came from Fred Durst.
It came from Fred Durst?
Yeah.
Wow. But we'll never hear Eddie's side of it, unfortunately.
What a story. God, I just hope it's true. Doesn't even matter if it's false. I need it to be true.
I'm sure there's truth in it. Is the whole thing true? I don't know. It sounds a little fantastical, you know?
Yeah, and Eddie was one of them guys. Like, I've always heard these stories. There's a story where somebody ended up with one of his old guitars, like, goes to a pawn shop or something and grabs it and goes, "Oh my God, this is an Eddie Van Halen guitar." Eddie did a lot of things to the guitar that were very uniquely, him.
Sure.
So this guy gets it and goes, "This is it." And he knows somebody who knows Eddie, and he's able to get it validated that, yeah, it is Eddie's guitar. So Eddie calls the guy. "Hey, man, how you doing? Just want to see if you like that guitar. Let me know if you need any help with it, man. I'll come over and help you." And he's like, "Well, yeah, it's having a little problem with this electronic here. I don't really, let me take care. I'll come over. I'll fix it." That's how Eddie was. He would just hang out with anybody.
Wow.
He was such a regular guy, but he had some demons, man.
Damn. Owned a tank, though.
Yeah, and he owned a tank. Yeah, he liked to buy high-performance vehicles and artillery vehicles. And
he drove Killdozer, too.
Killdozer. I love it.
You know about Killdozer? That's an episode for another time. But yeah, Killdozer's a real story that they made a movie out of.
Yeah, no, wait, what is it? Killdozer.
A guy turned a...
No, it's not a horror movie.
No, but a guy turned a bulldozer into a tank and took on the FBI.
No, what is this?
This happened out in South Dakota, I believe. I'll get all the stories. I'll get all the info. We'll do a whole episode on this in the near future.
You know what I thought it was? One of those Bigfoot cars.
Oh, no.
Killdozer. Grave robber or whatever.
Yeah. I didn't know Eddie Van Halen did Killdozer. That's interesting. Had a better ending than Killdozer did. Spoiler.
Well, speaking of new stuff that I learned, let's move into what are you watching?
All right. What are you up to?
All right. I got a few things here. So there's a new Exorcist movie out. I've never really liked The Exorcist. Didn't care about it. I don't even think I've ever seen the first one all the way through because I've seen so many parts of it that I get it. There's just not a lot to it.
Yeah.
Pretty standard story. So I said, all right, I want to watch these things. I haven't seen the other ones. I know nothing about 2. I know nothing about 3. So I went and I watched part 3 with George C. Scott.
Yeah.
When I tell you, this movie is off the rails, confused as all hell. This movie made no sense. At some point, you see George C. Scott telling this other guy a joke, and you can tell they're making it up. The other guy just starts laughing. It's like, what is going on? Are they following a script? So what happened is this is one of the movies where they just had footage and they couldn't agree on how it should go. And producers were fighting with the directors, were fighting with the actors, were fighting with everybody, with the writers. So the whole movie's a hodgepodge mess.
Oh, shit.
But then I'm thinking, all right, well, let me get away from 3. 3, usually the movies are bad. Let's go see 2. 2 will be better. Superman 2, Terminator 2.
Sure.
The worst piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. Just absolute garbage. I watched it for like an hour. I couldn't finish it. They basically bring the little girl back who was possessed.
Reagan, yeah.
I read Reagan. I read the trivia. She didn't want to put makeup on again, so she's like, "I'll do this, but won't do any makeup." And this movie went south on them too. Now the movie's so stupid. They're both there's like hypnosis involved, and doctor now can go in and see that. I got so confused.
I remember trying to watch parts of 2 before. Never even tried 3. I did know George C. Scott was in it, though. I do remember that. But, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of glad you're bringing up The Exorcist. In the past 5 episodes, when we're talking about things that go bump in the night, I don't even really know where this one would fit. Like, it's a demon. It's not a ghost. So I don't know. It really is, like, without category, this kind of thing.
Possessions.
Yeah, I guess. But, I mean, there's other possession movies out there right now. And like, that's like a whole... but I wasn't going to do a whole show on possessions, you know?
Yeah, it's not enough.
No.
For the life of me, man, I couldn't understand it. I was like, why is this franchise big? Why did they just make a new one?
Yeah.
It was so bad.
And this new one has like 2 girls getting possessed, I believe, from the previews.
And that's that Jason Blum guy, right? That Blumhouse guy.
Yeah.
He's on a fast track to smacking right into a wall. He's running too fucking fast. He's making bad movies as far as I'm concerned. I got a story about him coming up.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's one of them, let's remake everything and let's put my twist on it. Well, I don't like your twist, man. That whole Halloween franchise, did you see the third one? I mean, that just was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, I can't think of any Blumhouse movie that I saw that I thought was like, oh, that was really good. Like, I never had that reaction to one of those movies.
I think I liked the Evil Dead remake, and I think that's maybe, I could be telling tales out of school without researching anything, but that's where I first heard of him. So I think that's where it was like, hey, this guy, he's a new up-and-comer. Do you see what he just did with that Evil Dead? And now it's his formula. Like, well,
Right.
man, I don't know what to say. Like, it's not going to work every time, and I think he even did that last Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I don't think I saw the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, Jason Blum is the producer. So this dude is an up-and-comer. All right, you know what? I'm going to jump ahead to the news since we're talking about it. One of the next movies that he's scheduled to make is Spawn.
Really?
He's like, I understand there's superhero fatigue, but we're going to do it the Blumhouse way. And they got Jamie Foxx to play Spawn.
Okay.
Like, could you get excited about this? Because I can't.
I don't know. I did like Todd McFarlane's Spawn. If they keep it true to the comic book, yeah, I could get into this.
McFarlane's involved, so hopefully he, has enough say.
Yeah.
Because I know he's tried to keep a voice in the previous Spawn projects. That movie with the awful CGI, I can't remember how much he actually had there, but I know they made, in terms of control, but I know they made a cartoon on HBO. I remember that.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't an HBO kid, I went and rented the HBO home video release of the Spawn cartoon. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was good. But that was like almost ripped right from the pages of the comic book. If they're going to do that with this movie, great. But I don't know. Let's just say I'm cautiously optimistic. Is Jamie Foxx even good anymore? Like, he was like really sick for a while there. Like, people weren't saying he was in the hospital for a long time. Is he healthy enough to be acting again? Like, that seems like it was pretty hush-hush for a while. People were going to the hospital to see him like they were going to, say their final farewells and stuff. He was in there for a couple months, I believe.
Yeah, he's not returning my calls. So The Exorcist, just, there, told you everything I could tell you about that. I just don't understand why that was such a big franchise.
Yeah.
Now that I'm seeing it in my older years, I'm just even more confused. Even as a kid, I would have probably watched this thing when I don't understand what's going on. Now as an adult, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Still don't. So here's another thing I saw the other day on Netflix. They got a show that I recommend to everybody. It's not a show, forgive me. It's a movie. And it's called Old Dads.
Oh, yeah, this is Bill
with
Burr.
Bill Burr.
Yeah.
This is a great movie.
Yeah.
So it's Bill Burr. It's 2 other guys. I don't know who they are. Faces that I recognize. Funny as hell, all of them. And it's basically these 3 friends that grew up in the 80s. And they're trying to survive in this new world. And, they do like 3 different people to represent 3 different types of humans in this situation, right?
Right.
I'm the Bill Burr character. This is the guy that's kind of like angry and the world's changing out from under him and he's confused. Like, what? I can't do what now? What? Oh, and he's trying, but he's just can't wrap his head around how the world is changing.
Yeah.
You got the other guy who's already past having a family. Now he's like, kids are out of the house. Ex-wife is out of the picture. I'm going to start dating, and he's dating like a younger woman, right?
Yeah.
So there's that guy. I know a couple of people like that. And then there's the third guy who is the way too old to be acting like he's young and cool, you know? Like he's hanging out with the young people like, yo, what it be, man? Like, no, that's not cool. We don't talk like that anymore, you old fuck. Oh, it was so good. And the jokes in there, because Bill Burr's I think he's hysterical.
He's good.
I think he's super intelligent. He wrote and directed this.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of jokes that are really like, finally, you know, a guy like me gets to punch back a little bit, you know? So when I read the reviews of it, I was like, I wonder if people are going to like this, or are people going to think that this was offensive? And everything that I've read, it is totally split. People our age are like, all right, it was a good, nice little, you know, taking some punches back. But evidently, it really rubbed some younger people the wrong way because they felt they were being made fun of.
Well, and they absolutely were. I mean, that's the whole joke, right? I mean,
It's the whole point. That's why it's a comedy.
when I saw his show earlier this summer, I mean, he was really promoting this movie coming out and stuff like that. And he was like, and people like it and people hate it. And there might be a story or two written about it, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, more than a story or two. I don't know how many are getting written, but there was plenty of fake outrage online. Like, oh, did he go too far? Like, no, he didn't go too far.
Yeah, I feel like his comment was being facetious. He knew this was going to strike a nerve for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, it's a good one. I recommend it.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I saw the trailers for it and the previews for it, so I didn't know it was going to be a direct to streaming though. I didn't realize this was a Netflix thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the thing, like I see movie trailers now and it's like, is this something I can watch right away? Is this something I have to go to the movie theater for? Like where do I see this new thing? Because it used to be like any trailer you saw was coming to a theater near you, but that's just not the way it is anymore.
You're totally right. And then it's like, I want to watch this new Barbie movie, and I see it's like $20. And I'm like, but one day it's going to be free on one of these channels. How do I find that out?
I don't know.
So I Googled, right? You Google. And it's like, oh, well, you're going to find that it's on. And then it just named some rando channel. And I was like, what is that channel now? I know it's going to be on one of the main channels, but somehow this weird channel got the ranking
Wow.
in Google. Yeah, it's chaos.
Ah, damn. Well, the only thing I've been watching has been playoff baseball. And tonight is the final night for the Phillies to punch their ticket to the World Series.
Nope.
So, go Phils.
Nope.
So, Bill, don't talk too much. I got to get out of here. Got to get to the bar.
I have to get downstairs and pace around my living room for the next 3 hours and then not go to sleep because that's how I've been rolling lately.
Gotcha. All right. I won't hold you longer, but I got to tell you about one more thing. One more thing that I've been watching. This is a brilliant thing. There's a method to my madness. Now I'm leaning us into content on the internet. Okay.
Okay.
So you've heard me say, I think YouTube is going to take over and be a major, major consideration as a channel
Yes.
in the future. I think give it 10 years, ABC, NBC, CBS will be gone. You'll be like, well, I wonder what's on YouTube. Like, that's what people will think. I'm already thinking of YouTube as a channel. Like, I get up,
What I do.
you know, after dinner. Yeah. And it's like, well, let's go see what's on YouTube. And I flip through some of my subscriptions to see if anything good came on.
Yeah.
So I found a new one, found a new channel. It's called Social Catfish. Do you know what catfishing is?
Yeah, it's when you kind of con somebody into believing something, but none of it's true.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's more about like, it's a romance scam.
Right.
Right. So this thing was a movie made by a guy named Neve. Neve ended up taking that movie, turning it into a show on MTV called Catfish. I don't even know how the word catfish comes up in the show. I forget, but somehow catfish means being tricked by somebody who isn't who they say they are.
You think you're getting one thing and you're getting something else.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, is that what catfish?
I think if you catch a catfish on a fishing line, you think you're going to catch something else and you reel it in and it's like, oh, it's a fucking catfish. But you think you caught
Oh, is that what it means?
I think so. Don't quote me, but I do believe that is where the origins of that came from.
Yeah, that was one of those like catfish. All right, I'll go with it. I won't ask. Well, now it's a verb to be catfished. And it's like, you know, everybody knows this word. So there's a new social media channel. They're called Social Catfish. And it's really brilliant. From what I could figure out, it's really a software company. They give you the tools to go look up people who might be catfishing you. You probably pay a subscription to get people to see that their tool exists, they made their own little YouTube show. And it's not unlike our little show.
Okay.
You know, there's mistakes in it. There's tons of editing mistakes in this show, but we look the other way. They made their own catfish show.
Okay.
And their version is so damn fun because where the other version was, let me introduce you to a person who is pretending to be a girl who likes you. This one's a flat out scammer. And some of these scammers really make some of these people who are the victims, just makes them crazy. Just crazy. And you learn a lot about how these scams are done. I've been talking a lot about scams a couple episodes ago. I was talking about Uri Geller a couple episodes before that. Like anybody who can trick people, I'm suddenly fascinated in. So some of these scammers, man, they get these people believing the most insane things. There's this one woman who is convinced that she's talking to Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh my God.
So this is how they got her. She's basically on Facebook one day. It's an older lady. Somebody chats her and says, "Hi, I'm the assistant of Mark Zuckerberg. You just won our first raffle." She goes, "Yay, please hold for Mark Zuckerberg." Mark gets on and she goes, "Are you really Mark Zuckerberg?" "Yeah, I'm really him. Congratulations, you won. But to claim this, I need you to mail in $500 and makes up some excuse. She buys it hook, line, and sinker. Next thing you know, she's in love with Mark Zuckerberg. Can't believe that it could be anybody but him. She's convinced it's him because he sends pictures. You know, I got a picture of Mark Zuckerberg with his shirt off. All you have to do is go Google Mark Zuckerberg with his shirt off, and you see pictures of, because he works out, he likes to show off. So
it was surfing and shit too. Yeah.
This goes on for, so all the women fall for, that I've seen so far, are falling for some celebrity that doesn't exist. One person is convinced it's Johnny Depp. But the men are the most fun, convinced that these women are in love with him. I need to get to Ukraine to rescue her. I don't care how much money it takes. I need to go. And this group is like, "Guy, I need you to sit down. This is fake." And they try to show them how it's fake. And these guys are so like, "I'm not going to listen to you. This is real. I need this to be real."
Dude, I know a guy like this. Every time I hear from him or about him, it's like, "Oh yeah, no, his girlfriend, she's going to be flying in from Colombia or Ukraine," or, "Yeah, you know what? He just bought her a first class ticket and she couldn't make the flight. You know, her ex-boyfriend found out about the ticket and canceled the ticket, but now have to buy her another ticket." It's like, well, didn't she return the ticket? Don't you have credit? Well, no, something else happened. And like all the most glaringly simple answers are right there. And he's like, he needs to believe it. I believe on some level, these people, like, the only way you can fool somebody is if they want to be fooled. And this guy wants to be fooled.
It's got to be. It's got to be. They had one woman who was, you know, being very defensive because they were trying to say, "Look, you came to us because you had some doubt." So she had some doubt, but she still wanted to prove that she was right and was just difficult with the whole crew. And she's like, "You know what? I'm going to get him on the phone." And it's like, you know, here's a picture of some white guy and gets on the phone and you hear it's a African. You hear completely the accent and everything. And she's like, "Look, told you." And they're like, "Don't you know, like that is completely an African accent. That isn't an American accent." She's like, "It sounds American to me." So it's almost like, are you just, you know, that dumb? Sorry, no other way to put it. Or do you really just want to believe that this is the person that you see in the pictures, that white cowboy from Texas who's 50 years old, rugged looking, but, you know, sounds like he's not from Texas. So they fall for it. They must want to fall for it.
Or are you both? Are you that dumb and you want to believe it, so the two go hand in hand and it's the perfect crime for these people that are pulling these scams?
Oh, they got this one guy, and I'll leave it with this. He's just like, he feels so good about himself. He goes, "You know what? You'd be shocked how many women reach out to me. And every one of them is hotter than the next."
You're a mark.
Like, dummy, they're all fake.
Right.
No, they're all real. No. And they look at him, they go, "You got to look at these women. Why would this woman reach out to you, sir? No offense, but you're 70. One of your eyes doesn't open anymore. The nose hair goes out, you know, longer than your chin. Why do you think that these women are going to come up to you?"
Yeah.
Because a lot of women are a lot more interested in the personality than, you know, the physicality. It's like, oh man, that's what they tell you.
Yeah.
To get you to send them money. And they show the transcripts and everything, and it's hook, line, and sinker. It's really a sad thing.
Yeah, it really is. You could do an image search and find out that this is not the woman that says it is. This is just a stock photo from a supermodel's website. That's nothing to do with what you're thinking. It's fucking crazy. It's insane what people will believe.
Yeah, and most of the women are porn star pictures.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Where would you find a porn star's picture online?
Duh.
Oh, they're so funny. They're like, she's sending me intimate pictures. Yeah, she has an OnlyFans. That's where they're getting the pictures. I don't believe you. Oh, no. Like, how do you make somebody believe you if they just don't want to believe you?
Well, that's the real question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You know what you do? You just watch them on YouTube and say, thank God that isn't me.
All you can do is shrug, man.
What do you want to talk about now?
You know what? We kind of shot our load with the Halloween Things That Go Bump in the Night series, but this episode is going to drop the day before Halloween, and I feel like we still need to talk about something about the holiday, right?
Well, we are a show that talks about the old days. What do you think?
And that's what I was thinking. Growing up, do you remember Halloween costumes you had as a kid?
I remember them all because being a little boy in the suburbs, you're proud of your Halloween costumes. Like, they are achievements.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was one of those kids that my mother made all my Halloween costumes. From the time before I could walk up until 6th, 7th grade, my mom was making my Halloween costumes. So it was a proud moment for you to be walking around the suburbs as a little boy. Like, I was walking around the city like, look what I made. Like, I was my mom's showpiece for the year. I was never really a Halloween fan growing up, man. And I think it all comes back to costumes.
It's really because of that. That's your trauma.
I think I have Halloween trauma, man.
Were you like egged walking down the street? Oh, here it comes Scott.
No.
He's wearing a trash bag.
No, nothing like that. My mom is a seamstress. She can sew. My costumes were truly things to be envied. And like, they were really good costumes. This wasn't like, I wasn't wearing a trash bag. This was like really good costumes. But like, I have memories of like, you have a costume, you have to wear a wig. Now I have to wear bobby pins to hold the wig in. Like, I don't know how bobby pins work when I'm in 3rd grade. I'm like tearing my hair out at school trying to take the fucking wig off. Or I feel like I wore like tights as part of my costume way too much. Like, boys don't want to wear fucking dance tights. And here I am wearing fucking dance tights because, well, how else am I going to make the costume look that way? My mom was like really good at making costumes, but very meticulous and very on point when it came to the authenticity of the subject matter we're trying to get the costume at. So I'll give you a listing here of some of my early costumes. So before I could even walk, I was a clown. No problems there. I didn't like face makeup, like wax paint. Not a fan of that.
What age were you?
I'm telling you, the clown was before I could walk. Like, I only know of the clown because of family photo albums. I was Dracula. I was a vampire. I was the devil. The devil required tights. I was California Raisin. Gotta wear tights. I was a scarecrow.
In tights.
No tights for the scarecrow.
Oh.
But a weird mask that she sewed that like went like right up against my face and like was very uncomfortable for the entire time. I was a firefighter. My dad was a firefighter. That's what he did for a living. So once I was big enough to wear the gear, I think I was a firefighter probably 3 or 4 times. Like later on, like as I got older, no tights for the firefighter.
Well, that's a cool one.
Yeah.
Then you get to tell everyone your dad's that's a good one.
Everybody kind of knew, but like I remember just wearing like his fire gear and a fire helmet and putting on like a Groucho Marx like glasses with like a fake mustache, and that was my costume. And then lastly, I remember being a graduation nerd. And graduation nerd, this was like the one costume where I got to go out to the Halloween store and actually buy a vinyl mask. Like for all the years, everything up to this point, like I always just wanted to go out and buy a vinyl mask, like whether it was a scary mask or whether it was, you go up to the store and you see like the wall of masks, and it was always like, oh, they're too expensive. But there was this one where it was like, you looked out the guy's teeth, like he had like big buck teeth, and your eyes actually looked out like the gaps between his teeth, And then like the actual face was like an orange-haired kid with like freckles. Almost looked like Edward E. Newman from Mad Magazine.
Was it Howdy Doody?
It wasn't, but it was kind of reminiscent of that. And then the character mask wore like glasses that you didn't look out the eyes, but it was like frosted glasses. And my mom had like a cap and gown from graduation. Shit, it may have been her cap and gown from her graduation. And I pinned that to the top of the mask and wore the graduation gown, and that was my costume. And that was a good one. I remember that being like the first year that like I got to go out and buy a vinyl mask and not have to wear face paint or anything else like that. But then I learned that, careful what you wish for kind of thing. Like wearing a vinyl mask, walking around when it's like late October, you get so much condensation. You just sweat your ass off inside of a vinyl mask. Like even that thing that I thought I wanted ended up being like, man, this sucks. All this for free candy? Like this really sucks. So I was down on Halloween for much of my life.
When you say vinyl mask, I am remembering those plastic masks.
Latex masks is what I'm talking about.
Okay, you're talking about the full-on rubber. Do you remember the
Over
old
the head,
versions where
yes.
But even earlier, you used to see everybody like 85, 82, 83, 84, 85 wearing these plastic masks with the finest little string that would just wrap behind your ears and pretty much an apron, like a plastic apron, which eventually turned into maybe you could wear it as a shirt and would be the Hulk's body and a plastic Hulk face. And that was what everybody had. Everybody was a character with that costume design. And I remember the smell of the mask. I remember the different, I was a Hulk, I remember once, a Spider-Man. Like that was it for me. I was excited to go and pick the costume from that assortment every year.
So these kits were your Halloween costume growing up?
Yeah. Until I got older and was like, I'm never going to spend money on anything because you hit an age where it's like, you're now responsible. It's like, well, then I'll take the crutches when I broke my leg and I'll be injured guy. I did that for a little while. But whenever I spent money on a costume, it was going to be one of those plastic ones.
So I never wore one of these costumes, but you were like some kind of Kreskin-esque mind reader in that this is actually what I was going to talk about today. For decades, millions of these Halloween costumes that were sold across the United States were designed and manufactured right here in our backyard in Collegeville, Pennsylvania.
I knew something was going on with them, but I didn't know they were the headquarters. My old employee came in one day with one of those old masks, and it was a Kiss mask, but it wasn't the mask. It was the press or the plate that made it.
Oh.
And he's like, my uncle used to work at the factory. So I'm like, oh, there's a factory nearby. But I didn't really think of it as the headquarters for the mask and costume company. I just assumed it was some manufacturing plant or something. How about that? Is that why they were so big in our area? Because they were a local company? Did they reach the West Coast?
Maybe, but there were two main companies that manufactured these sets. And for those that don't know, the thinnest of plastic with, as you said, the thinnest little elastic band that goes around the back of the head. And then like sometimes vinyl, sometimes cloth, like smock that came with it that for some reason had like the character's face on their shirt. So you'd be like Casper the Friendly Ghost with Casper the Friendly Ghost on the shirt. Like when did Casper the Friendly Ghost ever wear a picture of himself on his chest? Like the dumbest thing, right? But these were the fucking Halloween costumes back in the day. They were put out by these two companies. Today we're going to focus on the Collegeville Costumes Company that was right down the road from where we're located. The other one was a company called Ben Cooper. And Ben Cooper was like, these were like the two biggest rivals when it came to this prefabricated Halloween costume that really, since the 1920s, defined Halloween and trick-or-treating. So here's another ironic thing about this mask company that kind of became the quintessential Halloween costume. It was founded in 1909 by a Dr. Samuel Cornish, who was a dentist.
Well, how did he come up with this? He just had an interest in making these masks? Because back then, he would have had to have made his own, right?
It didn't start with masks. So it started off that he founded the Collegeville Manufacturing Company. And what they manufactured was flags. American flags, flags from all over. Flags must have been a big deal back in the 1900s because in the early 1900s, there were 3 flag companies around the valley where this company's located. In 1914, they actually rebranded and became known as the Collegeville Flag Company. Leftover material from the flags they were using to make aprons and dresses like for women. But by 1924, Dr. Cornish gave up dentistry altogether. He's all in on manufacturing, and in 1927, they began making costumes. And the costumes started off pretty hokey. I mean, like, just generic characters. Like, early designs, they had Santa Claus, they had like a clown, a skeleton, something they just called a ghoul, a witch, a ghost, a princess, a knight, the devil, and, quote, the man from Mars. But then, they decided they were going to go all in and try and get some licenses. So some of their first licenses, 1930, they went out and got the Lone Ranger license. And that was a big seller. Decade later, Raggedy Ann and Andy. 1950s, Casper the Friendly Ghost, as I mentioned, Looney Tunes, and Woody Woodpecker. 1960s, Star Trek and Popeye. 1970s, they got Jaws, Kiss, and The Lord of the Rings. So this might be where your buddy's Kiss mask came from. 1980s, this is where we were getting into this. We got Transformers, Freddy Krueger, E.T., Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. 90s, Tiny Toons, Sonic the Hedgehog, Street Fighter, and Bill, one of your favorite, Barney the Talking Dinosaur. I don't think this was the 60-pound costume you were wearing, but definitely more manageable to walk around in. And that's kind of really, they folded in 1996. They went out of business, but they were the longest standing Halloween costume manufacturer, I believe, in the United States.
I'm looking now on Etsy and eBay, and they're still selling. They're reselling.
Big time vintage.
Yeah, 1960s Collegeville costume Sea Hag, $275.
Is that Sea Hag from Popeye?
This would appear to be just a general Sea Hag.
Oh.
Your run-of-the-mill Sea Hag, you know? You know those.
Oh, yeah, the Sea Hag. Okay.
Oh, yeah, here's one. All right, the Collegeville clown costume. This clown costume looks like the clown costume Michael Myers wore when he was a kid. Like, this could be that. Why not?
I really feel like this company was, and I know we talked about it a lot last week, I think this was the company, if not this one, the other one. This is what Halloween 3 was inspired by. Like the evil company that's cranking out these masks that turn people into, like, killing zombies, basically.
The one thing I remember about those masks, they did not last long. Either that paddle ball rubber band strap would snap, or it would just crack. They really were very fragile. They were cheap junk.
Yeah, absolutely. They were not made to last. And the fact that people are selling vintage ones online, like, that blows my mind. Because, like, you look at those things the wrong way and they just cracked in half. I remember my brother had one time. I think he was Beetlejuice. It's showtime. But of course, it was like a Beetlejuice mask with, like, Beetlejuice plastered on the chest again. Like, it was always the dumbest thing.
I love that. That's funny.
And I remember my best friend growing up, every year he would wear a Garfield costume like this.
You remember being in elementary school? Hopefully your school did it. Everybody would line up and do parades around the school and all that.
Yeah.
They still, did your kids do it?
Yeah, so they still do it up through 4th grade. This is her last year. But, you know, as with everything, there's so many rules and stipulations now. It's like nothing that covers the face or no full costumes, no simulated weapons. Like, it's just the PC police took over and took the fun out of Halloween.
I was trying to remember some of the costumes other kids had. I mean, I had those pretty generic ones, but I guess everybody kind of did. I have a weird memory of one kid I knew dressing up as Boy George. Just a random memory. He dressed up as Boy George, and I've always thought since then, like, yeah, Boy George was pretty big. He was pretty famous. He was dressing like a woman. Everybody knew he was a gay guy. Nobody seemed to care as far as I knew. As a kid, you know.
Yeah.
When did the outrage come?
I don't know.
There's outrage after Boy George, but nobody seemed to mind Boy George. But I remember he dressed up as Boy George. And that's about it. Everybody else had those plastic things or something their mother made them.
Wow.
Now you see these costumes can be really like they're the kind that you see at the conventions, like these giant works of art. Sometimes these Halloween costumes can go crazy big.
Well, I think of Heidi Klum. Every year, Heidi Klum has some kind of off-the-wall friggin' costume that's like professional makeup designers. And, you know, she actually like hires someone to make these costume designs for her. Like, and they're always elaborate and crazy things every year. He always does like a big Halloween party and a big debut, so he always makes the news feeds and stuff.
I remember seeing a mask for the Predator that was like $1,000.
Do you ever get your Jason mask you commissioned?
I did.
And?
It looks good.
Yeah?
Does it fit? I don't know yet. I hope so. Halloween's coming. I better try it on soon.
Is this what you're basing your costume on?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great? I show up because I dress as Jason or some stupid monster, and I go and I harass my employees. Could you imagine, like, I don't try it on in time and the mask is too small and it's like just this little, like, just a softball size.
Your Jason mask is basically the Stonehenge of fucking Spinal Tap.
Yes, yeah. Here's a good story. One time my wife went to buy me something from an Instagram ad. This is before we knew better. Never trust an Instagram ad. So it was a Freddy Krueger glove. And she was like, yeah, Bill would love that. I'm going to get it. So it shows up. It was a picture of a Freddy Krueger glove.
What?
There is now a framed picture of a Freddy Krueger glove in my garage because we couldn't throw it away. We were laughing too hard.
Oh my God.
But she's like, oh, I guess I should have read that ad a little closer. It was one of those like misleading ads.
That's so shitty, man. That is so shitty. Probably my most, looking at my list here, childhood costumes, probably my most involved one probably would have been the Scarecrow. My mom actually embroidered like a straight up like stocking mask of a scarecrow. And I remember her sewing like individual pieces of straw into like the cuffs of a flannel shirt and the cuffs of like bib overalls. And like, it was like a full all out costume. And yeah, I mean, it probably took her a couple weeks to put together. The California raisin was pretty good too. It was not a trash bag. It was a raisin colored fabric and we stuffed it full of, newspaper, like crumpled up newspaper to make it look like a raisin. I, of course, had the big sunglasses that, were pretty much a staple novelty around at the time. And, of course, those black tights and those white shoes.
Wow, I'd like to see you in those black tights.
Check out my OnlyFans.
Oh, yeah, I'm subscribed.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing I think I miss the most isn't going around and getting the candy. I really liked everything that led up to it. This is the days that I loved as a kid. This was, going to bed, but before you went to bed, you got to watch a horror movie. Like something was on TV. And then eventually the weekend would come, you hang out with your friends, you go to a haunted hayride or something like that. Those were so fun. And then Halloween would come and then it was over. Done.
Yeah. Did you do raiding in your neighborhood as a kid?
Raiding?
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
So here around Berks County, we would go out and get feed corn. We'd just go out and steal it from farmers' fields, take the feed corn off the kernels, put it in a Ziploc bag, stick it in your pocket, and go out and just throw it at people's front windows or throw it at cars or throw it at like metal awnings were like a big thing. Like on the front of row homes, they'd have like these awnings to keep the sun out. And those ones that were made out of metal, man, that made such a loud noise. Just basically went around scaring the shit out of people. You weren't doing any damage because you're just throwing like pieces of like hard corn at houses and stuff. But like, remember old people would come out and yelling at you like, you damn kids. But like raiding was a real big deal. And then like after you took all the corn off the cob, the corn cob you had left, that was called a door knocker. You throw that out the door and it would make a hell of a noise. But then kids got destructive with it. And this was kind of like the innocent thing that led up to like smashing pumpkins and lighting bags of dog shit on fire, all the kind of pranks that the more destructive pranks, this is where all that innocently began. But then it devolved into that over the years.
We're just totally at the murder now.
The purge. So no raiding down in your neck of the woods, huh?
We called it mischief night.
Yeah.
There was always this fear that, something was going to happen to your house. And I always had those friends that would say, I'm going to stand outside of my window with my gun and shoot them if they come. You are? Wow, you're badass, man. And I'd fall for it. I'd be thinking they were telling the truth. So as I got older, I finally was like, all right, I'm going to go see what this is about. My buddies and I would hang out maybe a little bit in mischief night. And one time, Steve, I'm pretty sure it was Steve, we harassed my neighbor. And his name was Bill. And like, I knew where his bedroom window was because it always faced mine. and we're throwing stones at it. We're trying to get his attention. I guess we're doing what you're talking about, but with little pebbles. And Bill wasn't having it. So Bill didn't see us. Bill thought it was somebody harassing him from his school. And we see him come out of the house, and we start running, and he starts chasing us, and we jump into a bush, and we're crying, laughing, and he comes around the corner, dude. And when I tell you, this fucking kid had a survival knife.
Holy shit.
Almost like at my belly, screaming, "What are you doing? Why? What the fuck do you?" I'm like, "Bill, man, it's fucking mischief night. Chill out. What is going on?" Wow. It triggered him. It really freaked him out. So that was it. Mischief night is over. I will never do that again. I almost got killed.
Yeah, like you see on movies a lot, like people will go like toilet papering and stuff like that. We never got into that. It was always just throwing field corn around. But we grew up in an agricultural neighborhood. We have field corn everywhere you look. So it was just a hot commodity, I guess.
Let me ask you this. Did you have a survival knife? Everybody I knew had a Rambo survival knife that they picked up at some flea market.
I remember my dad had one that had like a compass in the handle.
Yes, and you could unscrew it and put matches and flints. Oh my god!
I remember like my dad and my grandfather got one, but like I never had one. Like I think it was like in 5th grade. Like what the hell? Who's giving a kid a survival knife?
Yeah, it's still laying around somewhere. I know it's still here. I've seen it recently in a basement. Dull as hell. Couldn't even stab a pumpkin.
So these are my Halloween childhood memories and some of the PTSD that led to me not enjoying the holiday for the longest time. Wax paint, tights, wigs, sweaty ass masks. Yeah, none of this was fun.
I love it all. I love the smell of those plastic masks, the smell of the wax paint, the smell of the shit you would put in your hair, the smell of fake blood. Love it all. You really brought it back because, like, my kid's out of the house. I don't do anything for Halloween. We go to our friend's house. He runs an attraction on his front lawn. He's way into it. He's buying new stuff from Spirit Halloween. It's a big thing. So I get to go and do my fun that night. But it's not the same. It's not the same. I loved when kids came to the house.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I enjoyed it more than anything. Except when they would come and it's like, woo, the fuck are you supposed to be? And then, then it's that awkward moment when you're like, oh, you're such a pretty princess. Oh, the hell are you? Had a few of them in my life.
I love those classics. Aren't you a little too old for this? Like, you're not even trying. You're not even dressed up. You just have a bag. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You're just panhandling. You're not even trick-or-treating. You're panhandling.
I better give him something. He's going to egg me. Like, then you're worried. You've now made eye contact with the enemy.
Well, they got the Rambo survival knife.
So you give him the candy. You know better. You give him the candy with the razor in it.
That old wives' tale, huh?
Did you ever know anybody who found a candy with a blade in it? I don't.
No.
I don't know anybody.
So, not to send you another podcast, but our friend Will over on 1980s Now did an excellent episode this past week about basically the urban legend of this whole story and the hysteria that came about. And there's only 2 documented things. And one was for insurance fraud. And one was a cover-up because a kid got hair. Like, the whole thing with, like, drugs and candy. Like, there was never any razor blades found. There was never any credible evidence that this ever happened. But
I like drugs and candy.
That was Sex and Candy. But, yeah, he did a great episode of covering, like, the hysteria. And a lot of it really went away, but then came back in 83 with the Tylenol, cyanide in the Tylenol. And that brought back all like that resurgence of these rumors and these myths. And I remember when I was a kid, probably 3rd or 4th grade, they were like, oh, the police came in. The local police department came into the school right before Halloween. And they were like, hey, there's going to be people handing out these temporary tattoos that look like this, but don't use them because they're laced with drugs. And like now, I work in the field dealing with addiction and drugs. Who the fuck's giving away drugs? Nobody's out there giving drugs away. Like, this is crazy. And there's no documented evidence that it ever happened.
I've even seen in the neighborhoods around here, like, there's not nearly as many kids out as there used to be. And I don't know why. Hopefully it's not that way everywhere.
You live kind of out in the sticks, though. Like, I'm telling you, if you come over my neighborhood on Halloween, 2 blocks up, it is Halloween Central, man. It is straight out of an 80s movie.
Really? All right, I'm coming to your house.
It's crazy. Well, that's that, man.
That was great. I love that. Nice return to childhood and Halloween. Thank you for doing that.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you two. Do you like the trick or do you like the treat?
I like treats.
You like treats. Then you're going to love what I got for you.
Oh, damn.
Surprise game. Surprise game. 2 weeks in a row. I have a surprise game for you.
This feels like a trick. This feels like a trick, though.
I figured no matter what you said, I could work it in as the Segway Master.
Segway Master strikes again.
All right, so here's something that I did. Had a little bit of time today, and I was thinking about what a surprise game could be. And last time we did a surprise game, I named a bunch of horror movies, and one of them was fake. This isn't like that. This is going to be a little different, but it is about horror-related movies. Now, Scott, you really have surprised me this Halloween. You tell me you're not into horror movies, and you knew everything we talked about, at least almost everything we talked about. So I've decided I want to quiz you. I want to see how much you really know. And I also want to know how much you've paid attention through this year. Because some of these questions that I'm going to ask you, they're going to start easy and they're going to get harder. Some are related to things we've talked about. Some are not. I'm curious how many of these you can get right.
I'll do my best.
And some of them are going to be easy. Like, what is the name of the summer camp where Friday the 13th takes place?
It's Camp Crystal Lake.
Camp Crystal Lake. Super easy. You play at home. Everybody listening, play at home. Try to beat Scott. All right. Next question. Who played Count Dracula in 1931's Dracula?
Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi. That's an easy one. Who directed the acclaimed horror movie Get Out and Us?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele. Okay. See, you know your horror. You're pretty good. What do Carrie's classmates dump on her at prom in Carrie?
Yeah, I believe it was sheep's blood. It was blood. I believe it was sheep's blood.
The answer is pig's blood.
Pig's blood. All right.
Pig's blood. All right. You were close enough. Still impressed. Which actor made his film debut in A Nightmare on Elm Street? Let me rephrase that. Which A-list actor made his film debut in A Nightmare on Elm Street?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp got sucked into a bed.
You got sucked into quite a few beds since then, I bet you.
I know there's been a grumpy on his bed. Remember that? Remember when
Yeah.
Amber left a grumpy and he called it a grumpy? I love that.
It wasn't no dog shit.
Oh, that court case was the best. When Johnny Depp announced to everybody that there was a grumpy left on the bed and then had to explain what a grumpy is. Fecal matter. Love it. Love it. His best performance ever. All right. What town does Jaws take place in?
Amity.
Your favorite movie?
Amity, Rhode Island, right?
This is Amity Island, but I'll give it to
Amity
you.
Island, yeah. But it actually was filmed in Cape Cod.
All right. Now I'm going to start going into some movies that I don't know that you know that well. Who played Carrie in 1976? Carrie. What's the name of the actress?
I do not know.
Yeah, so Sissy Spacek her star kind of dropped right as you kind of got consciousness in the 80s. That's why I thought this one might get you.
It got me.
Which horror movie has the most sequels?
Ooh. Do sequels include reboots and everything else?
Sure.
Oh, I know. Amityville Horror?
Friday the 13th.
See, that's where I was going to go. How many did it have?
I think it's got 12 if we don't count the reboot. Well, I don't know. Let's throw that question away.
Okay.
It's a questionable question.
I was going to say Friday the 13th, but I think based on my findings in prepping for the Ghost Show with Michelle, I think I found that there was a lot more remakes and sequels and everything with Amityville Horror. Or another one I could challenge with, Paranormal Activity. There was a shit ton of them.
Oh, there's like 82.
Yeah. All right. I'll consider that one a loss.
All right, we'll throw that out. We'll kill it. 'Cause I don't even know the true answer. All right, what is the name of the hotel Jack Torrance is hired to care for in The Shining?
It's the Overlook Hotel.
Good memory. Who plays Norman Bates in 1960's Psycho?
Oh.
We've talked about it. I don't know if you ever mentioned the actor's name, so this might be hard.
I didn't. I can see him. I should know this. I'm not going to come up with a name, though.
Anthony Perkins.
Perkins. Shit. All right.
There are 2 serial killers at the center of Silence of the Lambs. What are their names?
Buffalo Bill. And Anthony Hopkins plays Hannibal Lecter.
I actually thought Buffalo Bill might be harder for you to remember.
No, I remember that one because it puts the lotion on the skin. But yeah, definitely Hannibal Lecter. I couldn't think of it.
Couple more somewhere in the middle of easy and hard for you. What brand of doll is Chucky in the Child's Play franchise? We just talked about this.
He's a good guy doll.
Good guy doll. In which state does 1968's Night of the Living Dead take place? Also recent information.
Well, I know it's filmed in Pittsburgh. Does it also take place in Pittsburgh?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
This question I'm just asking because I can't wait for your answer. Who played Frankenstein's monster in Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Son of Frankenstein?
Carlo?
Sidekick?
Fuck you!
Oh, so good. All right, now we're going to get to the tougher ones, the ones that I think might stump you.
Okay.
Which Marvel Universe actor, right, the MCU, which actor, and I'll give you a hint, it's a big actor, it's one of the big characters, which Marvel Universe actor starred in 2011's The Cabin in the Woods, which is a highly recommended movie.
Chris
Because
Evans?
it is not, nope.
I don't know.
Chris Hemsworth, Thor.
Oh, I got the wrong Chris.
Have you seen this movie?
Cabin in the Woods. Yes, I have.
It starts out, you think it's like a tropey Cabin in the Woods horror movie, and it completely flips on you. It's a great flick. Great
Yeah.
horror movie.
Yeah. But, like, this was before Chris Hemsworth was Chris Hemsworth, right?
Yeah, I don't even think he did Thor yet.
No.
Right, he was just rando number 2.
Right.
Who directed Poltergeist?
Steven Spielberg.
He produced it.
Hmm.
The director was Tobe Hooper.
Never would have got it.
You know who Tobe Hooper is?
Nope.
Director of the Chainsaw Massacres.
Oh, that's right. You said he made that with his buddies on the cheap. You did just say his name. I didn't know he was tied to Poltergeist, too.
Yeah, I forgot that when we were talking about it the other day. Because that's interesting. It's like Steven Spielberg must have been like, I love that Chainsaw Massacre. Let's get him for one of my movies.
Yeah.
But Tobe Hooper's other movies back around Chainsaw Massacre were just as scary. There's one about a fun house. Ooh. Yeah, Steven Spielberg was the master of PG horror.
Sure.
Where does The Thing take place?
I know it was filmed in Norristown, Pennsylvania, right?
The
Norristown?
Thing? Not The Blob. The Thing. John Carpenter's.
Oh, The Thing takes place in Alaska.
Antarctica.
Yeah, shit.
What is the name of the killer who possesses the doll that becomes Chucky in Child's Play?
I have no idea.
It's a cool name because it's like one of those 3-word names. Charles Lee Ray. Perfect serial killer name.
Yeah.
In The Ring, how long do people have to live after watching the videotape?
I believe on the 5th day. Or is it the 7th day?
7 days.
7th day. All right. Oh, I didn't get that one right.
What is the name of the demon who possesses Reagan in The Exorcist?
Ooh. I haven't seen it in a long time. There was another great possession movie that starred John Goodman and Denzel Washington. I remember the demon's name was Azazel, and I think Azazel was reused from a previous movie. Is Azazel the name of the Reagan?
No, but close. Pazuzu.
Pazuzu. Oh, I did hear that before. Okay.
All right. Now, here's a good one. If you get this one right, okay, this is the last one, the hardest one, because I never do this, and you may. We're going to put $50 on the line. My own money. You get this right, you get $50 from me. Sent directly by carrier pigeon. What was Halloween originally going to be called?
John Carpenter's Halloween was originally going to be called something else?
Mm-hmm.
Something about babysitters. The babysitter murder.
Unreal. You just earned yourself $50. 50 smackers. 50 clams.
So that means I got 11 right and 10 wrong. This was a very well-balanced game, Bill.
How did you know the babysitter murders? I never heard that in my life.
Well, I told you, Halloween was my favorite slasher movie.
That's why I put this one last. I was like, if anyone will know it, you'll know it. I mean, you knew where the bloopers were in the scene where Michael Myers jumps on the top of the car. I was like, oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, man. If there's random shit to be known, I'm your guy.
Well played. And you made $50.
You know what? You don't owe me $50. It's our anniversary. You take that money. You buy yourself something nice. My gift to you.
I'll just pay for more hosting.
Go time.
Channel 4 News with 5-time Emmy Award.
So I thought this was interesting from Forbes. Captain Marvel sequel could bring in half of original amid superhero fatigue. So now that's a thing I guess all the papers are saying. Everybody's just using the word superhero fatigue like it is a true thing.
Yeah.
Probably is. The sequel to Captain Marvel, titled The Marvels, is projected to earn between 75 and 80 million in its box office debut, nearly half of its predecessor's earnings, reflecting a trend dubbed as superhero fatigue. Factors like an ongoing actors' strike could further impact the figures. So, yeah, I mean, you saw it coming at some point. It's like, we have all these films made. They got to come out.
And I've seen the previews for this, and I just don't care.
Yeah. I'm trying to get into this Loki thing. I don't care. Just don't care. It seems like the same thing from the first movie. It's retreading. I know it's a different plot line, but it still feels like the same damn show, and I just don't care. Don't care about any of this anymore.
And like, I may have said this last week. I watched the first 3 episodes. I fell asleep during episodes 2 and 3. But I'll say I like it. What I could stay awake for, you know? Like, I don't know.
Doesn't keep you awake.
No
Star Wars movie ever. I never was able to fall asleep during any Star Wars movie.
Right.
If it's good, you'll stay awake. If it's bad, you'll doze off. If you're a narcoleptic, you'll doze off, but you're not a narcoleptic.
I've not been diagnosed.
Thought this is interesting. So more ads are coming to streamers. You know, we pay all this money to get this streaming content. We were like, this is so much better than cable. We can't wait to cut the cord and save money. Now it seems like we're paying a lot more. Ad commercials are coming back. Talked a little bit about it before. Here's something new. Streaming platforms like Hulu, Peacock, and Max are integrating pause ads to boost revenue. These ads display when viewers pause content, aiming for less intrusion compared to traditional commercials. The trend reflects the shift towards ad-supporting streaming tiers amidst growing aversion to commercials. Pause ads offer a balance, providing advertising spots without extending interruptions. They also present potential for interactive advertising with evolving technology, yet ensuring a positive viewer experience remains a challenge. So, yeah, are you going to pause something and go, hey, well, I'm paused. Let me go and click this Dove ad and buy some soap?
Yeah, I'll say I've noticed a lot more unskippable ads on YouTube as well lately. I know you pay for your YouTube. I just use the regular free app. I've been noticing a lot more ads that you just can't skip through after 5 seconds. Like there's a lot of 17-second commercials, sometimes 30-second commercials. Like it's prevalent.
Most of the streaming stuff I watch now, even though I pay for all these damn premium ones, is these Tubies and these freebies because they got all the stuff that I'm interested in. It happens to be free and it's filled with commercials, but it feels a lot like my days of sitting there watching Channel 17 in Philadelphia and watching The Beastmaster, followed by Phantasm 2, on a Sunday afternoon. So it feels a little like that, and I like that. So I'm not down on ads. Ads, fine. You know what? Somebody should make money. You made this stuff. We're watching it for free. Make some money. I don't mind. But when is it going to be too much? When's it? Because I'm already seeing tons and tons of ad placements now in movies. Have you been noticing that? Like, it's a lot more.
Oh, just like product placement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot more subtle, but it's a lot more plentiful too.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Spider-Man Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Like they were cramming stuff in there left and right.
Yeah, I was watching something yesterday. I can't remember what it was to reference it, but it was like, oh, that was an obvious product placement. Because the whole camera just kind of stops and glares at this product.
It's funny. Like, remember Wayne's World made fun of it with like dressed head to toe in Reebok or, yes, it is my choice. The choice of the new generation. And it's just like making fun of like all this blatantly obvious like ad drops and like that's what it's become.
It's happening now. But I did like the idea about you pause it and maybe get some kind of interactive thing. All right. But don't be just an interactive ad. Maybe be interactive content related to the movie. Hey, here's some stuff you didn't know. Hey, if you want to buy the outfit this character's wearing, you can go here. Like, that's useful.
Maybe.
But don't give me something completely irrelevant to the movie.
I've seen things now where it's like you get to choose which commercial you want to see. Like, oh, here's this company paying for these ads. You can watch like the airport one or the one at the mall, or like you can watch this one at the beach. And this is like, if you don't select within 10 seconds, it picks one for you.
Right.
But like that was like, okay, pick your poison, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah. My head's already down looking at my phone, doing something else altogether. It's just sitting there
get
stuck
on
on
with
the
it.
choose. Like, oh shit, I gotta choose one of these. Fine. Yeah, show me the Downy commercial. I'll take it. Yeah, it's changing, man. Everything's changing. Here's an article. I'm not even going to go into this one too much. The headline gives it all away. Marvel Studios reportedly only chose Kang as the multiverse saga villain after Jonathan Majors received positive buzz in the first Loki.
Yeah.
So if this is true, it's just more evidence that they're flying by the seat of their pants and they say, yeah, that's our style. But this doesn't look like a good style. Like in hindsight, this is how you chose who the next Thanos was going to be because he did pretty good in the second series that Disney Plus put out, or was Loki the first? I mean, that's just so reckless to me.
Yeah. I mean, because that good press quickly went away, didn't it?
Yeah, sure did. Man, I'm trying to watch him in that Loki show, and I liked him in the Jonathan Majors when he played Kang in the Ant-Man movie. I actually liked him in that, but I hate him in this show. It's so silly. His acting is ridiculous in this. All right, this is a fun one. Too much CGI goes TMZ or National Enquirer. This made me laugh so hard. So I guess John Stamos has a book out.
Yeah, it just came out, like a tell-all kind of thing. You could tell me that he found his girlfriend in bed with Tony Danza?
John Stamos recalls finding girlfriend Terry Coakley naked in bed with Tony Danza.
I love it.
That is the greatest story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? You walk into a room. That's worse than like Eric Estrada taking that girl from me.
That's right. You
walk in and
on
there's
it.
Tony Danza. No, I didn't walk in on it. I saw the walk of shame. He walked in on Tony Danza. And so all of these years, Tony Danza and him have had this secret.
Wow.
And now we know. I love being an insider.
You got to save some stuff for the tell-all, right?
I can't believe this was a headline. I was like, are you kidding? This is news. I got to put this on the show. Did I ever tell you my story about John Stamos?
Yeah. I don't know if it ever made the air. Don't you have a John Stamos autograph somewhere?
I do. An index card. All
On
right,
the
I'll tell you the
back of
story.
An index card is who you actually wanted to get your picture? Or
All
on
right,
the back
all
of
right.
that index card is
Yeah.
who you actually wanted to get the signature of?
You're close. You're close. All right. So here's what it was. It was me and Paul hanging out in New York City. We're like 16-year-old kids. Paparazzi wasn't even a thing then. My buddy Paul was all hooked up with these autograph collectors who eventually turned into the paparazzi circuit. So he knew some of the earliest paparazzi guys. I wasn't that far from him because a lot of times when Paul and I would hang out, I'd see a lot of these guys. They all had nicknames. And it was early paparazzi, and how these people figured out where the celebrities were and would leak it to Paul, who would then, we'd taxi over to these places. I never really understood that inner workings. So one day we're walking around. We always have these index cards and Sharpies in our pockets because we hope one day to meet a celebrity. Almost every time we went to New York, we bumped into somebody, so we were prepared. So we walk by the Paramount, right? It's a hotel. Great bar, by the way. Great food. Ooh, let's go to the Paramount someday. So we walked by the Paramount and we look to the right and there's two limos and it's raining. I remember it's raining. We had to go in under an awning. And the limo has one limo has a guy holding a sign that says Stanley. The other guy's holding a sign that says Simmons. Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons. It's
Sure.
Kiss. We look right into the hotel room and in the lobby is Kiss, like on their phone. Those two guys, they're just about to walk out. They're just kind of dragging ass. And I'm like, come on, walk out. We want to meet you. We knew we couldn't go in and get autographs, rather. They throw us out. We've
Doorman
had enough
kick you,
experience
yeah.
getting thrown at. Yeah, you got it. So we're standing under the awning. It's pouring rain. We're waiting like stalkers, waiting for Gene and Paul. All of a sudden, this guy comes running across the street, soaking wet. And he comes walking right up to us. Hey, how you doing, guys? And he just takes the pen that we're holding. And I look at this soaking wet rat. It's John Stamos. And he just starts signing his autograph. And he takes Paul's paper, his little index, he signs it. And by the time he's done signing Paul's, he kind of looks at me and goes, oh, you weren't waiting for me. And he kind of looks around. He sees Stanley and Simmons. And when I tell you, I will swear this up and down till I die, he goes, tell Paul and Gene I said hi.
And just took off?
With an attitude and slapped the pen back into Paul's hand and went into the place, walked right past Paul and Gene, didn't even acknowledge him. That was so weird. And then Paul and Gene came out and we're like, hey, can you sign the other half of this index card? Sorry, this John Stamos just came by. But we really wanted you guys. Yeah, it's my John Stamos
shit,
story.
man.
He was very angry. Very wet, very angry.
Read the room, buddy. That's funny that he picked up on it halfway through.
Yeah. Paul had no clue who he was either. I knew who he was. Paul didn't know. Who was
Fuck
it?
is this guy?
I'm like, dude, that's the Full House guy. Come on.
He sits in with the Beach Boys. He sang Kokomo.
That was the same incident when Paul gave Gene Simmons his demo tape because Paul was in a heavy metal band. And Gene Simmons is like, yeah, Gene Simmons goes, if I listen to this, don't call me. Don't ask. I will call you if I like it. And that's it. And he just shut him down. And Paul was like, oh, okay, I got it. I won't say any more. And as I'm standing next to Gene Simmons, some guy walks up to me and goes, can I get Gene's autograph? I go, who the fuck do you think I am? He goes, I thought you were his bodyguard. What? I'm a 16-year-old kid. What? What a weird day.
Oh, man.
Let's talk about some strike stuff. You know what the union says now? Don't dress up like content from the studios for Halloween. Don't do it. Did you hear about this?
No, I did not.
All right. So basically it's come out if you're going to dress up for Halloween, SAG actors, make sure you're not dressing up as anything from a studio. Do not promote anything. Don't be Chucky. Don't be anything. Melissa Gilbert, former president of SAG. Do you remember her? She was an actress on Little House of the Prairie. Voiced her disapproval of the SAG-AFTRA announcement advising members against dressing as characters from striking companies for Halloween.
Wait a minute. Isn't Sarah Gilbert the actress from Roseanne?
Is that her? Or
I thought
is...
so.
If I got it mixed up, they're sisters, actually. Melissa
Really?
and Sarah Gilbert.
Sarah Gilbert was definitely the one from Roseanne. She played Darlene.
Then this is Melissa. So this
Okay.
is, I think, Little House of the Prairie. Gilbert vented her frustration on Instagram, calling the suggestion childish and urged the union to concentrate on negotiations. Uh-oh, there's some cracks in the armor. That's ridiculous. Come on. Don't dress up. Do whatever you want. Getting silly now. Next thing you know, George Clooney's going to have... Oh, George Clooney to the rescue. Did you hear this story?
I did hear this one, yes.
George Clooney and other notable Hollywood actors have offered $150 million to the SAG-AFTRA Actors Union to help end the ongoing actor strike nearly in its 100th day. This offer, confirmed by Clooney's spokesperson, aims to provide the union with an additional $150 million over 3 years for improved health benefits. Clooney also mentioned that top stars would only collect residuals after lower-paid actors have received theirs, showcasing a communal effort among high earners to resolve the strike. And then Fran came out, said, thanks, George, but
Can't do it.
your proposal to take the cap off union dues in order to end the strike isn't legally compatible with our contract.
Right.
So all of that news, he came out. I guess a bunch of other actors are like, we're going to help put some money into the pot, try to, and they can't.
Yeah.
What a weird week.
I think I emailed you about this article and I was like, so this whole thing's about disparity between high paid actors and low paid actors. And George Clooney's out here just saying we're going to do this. And I think you were like, yeah, there's probably a lot of other high paid actors that are like, what the fuck is he saying?
Oh, I'm laughing. Ben Affleck, he just read that and he was like, huh? No, what? No, I got a house I just bought in the Maldives. I got to pay for this.
Classic Clooney and his pranks on set.
Oh my God. George Clooney does like to play pranks. That was crazy. I mean, that is, I know they say Hollywood is very liberal, but man, that is like the most liberal thing you could do. And sure as shit, there's George Clooney putting it out there. I was like, this is almost impossible.
What if Fran's one of the top earners and she's just like, no. It says, no, it says right here, it's illegal. We can't do it. She just doesn't want to fucking pony up.
Oh man, I read an article today that it sounds like they're going back to the table. So after 2 weeks off, as I told you that they
up and walked, man.
They got up and walked. They were offended by the actors not taking the offer. Well, I guess George did have some sway. I guess they have said, all right, we'll go back and try to figure this out. I just, who knows? You got to be in this to understand really what's going on. We're not in those hearings, or those discussions rather. But it's like, really, you can't figure this out. It's so annoying. I'm not on either of your teams. I'm getting mad at all of you. Like, I kind of wish you all fail at this point. Because I'm happy watching my creators on YouTube.
The big complaint about the writer's strike resolution was just that, like, Really? This is what you came up with? This could have been like a day 2 resolution. And now here we are 100 plus days out. And this is what you came back with? Like, this is low-hanging fruit. It's what everybody wanted. It was amicable. We're glad we got the deal done. But why the fuck did it take as long as what it did?
Well, with this, they want the thing they couldn't agree on was the residuals.
Right.
That's the big thing now that the companies don't want to give power to. And this is where I go, well, it's capitalism. It's right. You have to work harder to get ahead of the guy who's ahead of you. You may have a bad contract this time, but when you get really good, your second contract, you get to negotiate for things like back end pay and, this. But that's always how it's been. Now it's like, well, now everybody wins because you're at the union. So the competition within that world is less. So is that good?
I don't know. We'll see what kind of products we get.
Because again, competition is what drives change, and change is what you need from content. You can't keep watching the same thing.
Been doing it for our entire lives. All these sequels and remakes and reboots. Barbie was the last original idea and it was based on a toy from the 1950s.
Well, AI couldn't have come up with that, huh?
Guess not. You know what this episode is? Season 2, episode 1.
Oh, damn. Look at that.
We're still talking about the same shit. Well, there it is, man. Welcome to year 2. And thanks for joining us, those that have been here with us for the whole ride. And for those that are coming aboard for the first time, check out the back catalog of episodes we have available on all of our platforms and everything else. Thanks for listening. Tell a friend. And Bill, let's keep this train going.
The tell a friend part, that is the most crucial. How about next year we grow double? Everybody just tell one person and make them listen.
Yeah.
All right. Eddie Van Halen them. Put a gun to their head. Make them listen.
Don't do that. But seriously, do that. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
You only want to socialize,
but I don't think we should.
A spooky, scary skeleton shouts startling, shrilly screams. They'll sneak from their sarcophagus.
Karloff? Sidekick? Fuck you!